Okay, well, hello everybody. My name is Christy Gamble. I am the Senior Director of Sustainability with CarbonCure Technologies. I'm happy to be your host for today's webinar called Future-Proofing Your Concrete Business. And I am very honored to be joined by two, pretty boring guys, unfortunately. We've got Andrew Gilmore and Tim Alexander from ABC Ready Mix in Sacramento, California. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. Thanks for joining this webinar. You will be muted. So this webinar recording will be shared afterwards. If you've signed up for the webinar, then yes, you will receive an email with information about how to access this webinar later. For best results, we do recommend using a high-speed internet. There is a chat window on the lower right. So use the chat function if you're having any IT difficulties or just want to ask more of an administrative question. We would like to encourage you to use the Q&A function that you see in the webinar platform. We will be asking questions or allowing questions at the end, and so if you have any questions, feel free to type it into the Q&A function at any time during the chat or during this discussion, and we will be addressing those questions towards the end. Finally, there will be a survey, and so if you have just a couple of seconds, we would love to get your feedback on how this webinar went. All right, well, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Andrew Gilmore and Tim Alexander. A couple words about myself, your host, before we get started. As I mentioned, my name is Christy Gamble. I'm the Senior Director of Sustainability with CarbonCure Technologies. I've been with the organization for over 8 years, helping to lead the mission to reduce the carbon footprint of concrete and help concrete producers access the growing green demand from architects, engineers, and contractors. So with that in mind, let's start with Andrew. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, thank you, Christy. Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrew Gilmore, and I'm the controller here at ABC Ready Mix, and we're kind of a small company, so that means wearing more than one hat. I do more than just the financial end of it. I take care of human resources. Tim and I both collaborate on marketing and just making sure everything kind of runs smoothly.
All right, and Tim, tell us about yourself.
Yes, I'm Tim Alexander, head of sales, occasionally dispatch and batch at times. Like Andrew says, we wear multiple hats. I mean, this is the one I'm wearing today, but it can lead to many other things within the business. That's about it.
Excellent. Well, I do like the hat you're wearing. It looks very nice. So. Excellent.
It's from, actually, my daughter works for the Museum of Science in San Francisco. So she's actually works on the rooftop. So.
Nice. Excellent. All right. Well, we are going to be talking today about future-proofing the concrete business. And in order to get into this story, first, let's hear a little bit of background about ABC, what it's all about. So, Tim, can you give us a bit of an overview? Who is ABC, and maybe just a brief introduction into the company's history?
As far as, yeah, I think, Andrew, you do better at that. Okay. As far as
ABC Ready Mix was started in about 1960 as a gunite company, and the name is actually Air-Blown Concrete, and we transitioned into ready mix concrete in the late 90s, mid to late 90s. It was founded in Fresno, California by a gentleman named C.H. McCracken. And at about 1973, he moved it up to Sacramento. There was more opportunity here than at the time than in Fresno, and moved it into the location where we are at currently, which was a concrete plant. It had been a ready mix plant since 1942, I believe it was. And he operated out of this location doing gunite, swimming pools, canals, anything that had to do with gunite. And in about 1977, his nephew, Richard Holzmeister, took the business over, purchased it from him, and continued with swimming pools and grew the business. And at one point, we're doing gunite for about 1,300 swimming pools a year. And the economy tanked a little bit. people, of course, one of the first things they'll let go of are swimming pools. And Rich decided to put in a ready-mix plant, and from there the company's grown greatly. And then in about 2004 or 5, he and his wife decided to retire, and their children took over and still operate the business today. And we do very little gunite now, and
Focus mainly on ready-mix.
focus on ready-mix.
See, I told you you'd do really good at that.
So we're still a family-operated small ready-mix
Sorry to put you on the
business.
spot, though.
Yeah.
But you did great.
That's great. So family-owned business and already a bit of background of adapting to the times. So that's fantastic. Well, Tim, I'll actually address this question over to you then. So you're operating across Sacramento. What can you tell us about construction in Sacramento? Who are your customers and how do you work with them?
Well, the city of Sacramento is very diverse. We have a construction boom going on right now. So you can see things from, backyards, homeowners projects to commercial projects such as, concrete chilled up buildings, a lot of municipal work. There's a area of downtown that we call the rail yards, which is a kind of a redevelopment where they've gotten rid of the, Union Pacific, Southern Pacific. All that infrastructure is now being changed over to a whole different atmosphere. But as far as the Sacramento area itself, we're lucky to have a pretty good boom that's going on right now. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so it sounds like a lot of people moving into the Sacramento area. Impact on residential.
Yes, I should have brought up that since the pandemic, we've seen a lot of folks moving in where they've been able to work from their home rather than at the office. And then the office spaces where they came from is LA, San Francisco. So we've seen a lot of those folks come into town where they're buying up a lot of residential homes. There's a lot of home building that's going on as well, and they work from their offices. So it's kind of a unique opportunity for all of us here in Sacramento.
Great. Excellent. Well, Andrew, I know you come from a little bit of a different business than ReadyMix. And when we first met, you told me about how you joined the company back in 2014 and were brought on to kind of make some changes. So can you tell us a little bit about what that experience has been like, where you came from, and what you've done with ABC since you joined the company a few years back?
Sure. I spent probably 25 years in a completely different industry, not even related. However, we did use quite a bit of precast product, but I was in the funeral and cemetery and florist business for a long time. And I was semi-retired. I had resigned as the president of a chain of funeral homes and cemeteries. And I was brought on to ABC to make some infrastructure changes. And, I know ReadyMix has always been, or was for years, a ma and pa type organizations. And if a truck broke down, it just got parked out back and you could pillage parts off of it and use it to fix another truck. And the plants weren't always the best looking facilities. So I started by cleaning things up. We got rid of the old equipment. We started planting some green areas in the middle of this big chunk of concrete. We're fortunate here. We've got about 40 acres that surround us that belong to us. We operate out of about 8 or 9. The plant and facility is about 8 or 9 acres that are concrete. We have poured concrete all over it. And so having some green around it was nice, and just trying to make it a little more environmentally friendly. We updated our fleet. Our fleet is, the oldest truck is about 4 or 5 years old. And we did that. We wanted some cleaner burning trucks, and we use renewable diesel fuels in them. We are looking at some other alternatives, but I think some of that technology is a little further out right now. But I think there are some big changes coming to that aspect of the industry as well. So it was basically just to improve our image and give us a little more of a friendly look. That was my intent.
You really did it too.
And then we kind of, I don't want to jump ahead of you, but then we discovered CarbonCure, and we've gone from there. So I'll let you continue.
Well, why don't we continue with that then? So you heard about CarbonCure. Obviously, you have joined this webinar with us, so clearly something good happened between us where there's a partnership now. So why don't you tell us a bit about that? How did you hear about the company, and walk us through what the experience has been like so far?
Sure. I'm a reader, so I do a lot of reading and research, and I happened to cross an article, and I don't even remember what it was in, but it was about CarbonCure technology, and I found it very interesting. And in that article that I was reading was a link to a video, little presentation about CarbonCure. So I watched that, and I found it all very interesting. And so I continued to research it, and I looked at your website, and I tried to poke holes in the whole idea. It seemed a little bit too good to be true. And I spent about a year researching this on and off, and just trying to figure out what wasn't going to work about it. And I couldn't find anything. It seemed like an absolute fantastic technology. And so that's when I called Kevin Davis at CarbonCure, and here we are.
Oh, Kevin will be happy to get a shout out. So hi, Kevin. And Tim, from your perspective too, what has it been like? So since the point that Andrew gave Kevin a call and we got things installed, I know it's been a process since then. For either one of you actually wanted to kind of tell us a little bit about that process getting set up and installed and to the point where we're at now.
Well, initially, like Andy was saying, I was a little bit hesitant on this new technology. I'd never heard of it. But as things moved along, where, so to speak, Andrew pulled the trigger on putting this in place. It was actually fairly seamless, and the process of doing the testing, I think, took the longest, which is obvious because it's a time-consuming thing. But as it came along further and further, it was like it made total sense to go this route. I've been pleased with it since the beginning, and I think moving forward, we are the first ones in the Sacramento area to apply this to producing concrete, and I see nothing but positive coming out of it in the future.
And from my perspective, we implemented the installation of CarbonCure during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And your team in Canada got stuck in Canada, and your installers in the US were stuck in Texas. They couldn't travel. And so Kevin Davis asked me if he thought we could install it ourselves. And so we did. And it actually wasn't that difficult. It took us longer than it would have if you would have done it, because that's what your guys do on a weekly basis. But it wasn't that difficult. We've got some really good plant maintenance guys, and one of the guys that works with us also does all the big towers, like the cell towers, and those radio towers. So he did all the electrical, and it really turned out to be a pretty simple process. And we got it in and up and running during the pandemic, and CarbonCure's team was great about support and helping us get it in.
Because what we've got from CarbonCure has, in my opinion, been flawless. You guys are very responsive to anything we do. You're in over responsive, which is very helpful in this day and age where all of us get distracted at times. And we got to put out a fire here or there or whatnot. You remind us of what we need to do the next step, and that's helpful.
Well, we're so appreciative of the partnership we have, and especially to be the first to bring it to Sacramento. You know, that's one thing as our partnerships across the globe grow, you will always be the first in Sacramento, the pioneer in the region, and I think that's something to be really proud of. So, let's start to talk about the future and the future of concrete. And this is going to lead us into a case study. So just a bit of commentary first. One of the things that I've really noticed trends in the industry is that one of the biggest opportunities available for cities and counties who are interested in reducing the carbon footprint of the cities is sidewalks. So many sidewalks today are being poured with, frankly, too much cement. And there's such an opportunity to make better concrete with sidewalks. And from what I've heard, the city of Sacramento has actually walked the walk. They stepped up. Look at all these puns. Sidewalks, right? Get it, guys? All right. So, Tim, tell us a bit about this. What happened with the city of Sacramento?
Well, previous to CarbonCure, we had aligned ourselves. We lined a contract with the city of Sacramento for all of their municipal sidewalks, curbs, gutters, maintenance, so to speak, things that go, break down. We have a lot of trees in the city of Sacramento. At first, we were known as the city of the trees, so you got all these roots breaking up sidewalks and whatnot, and they got to be replaced. Well, during that transition of getting ready to start up the project, we were already lined up. We were lined up with CarbonCure, and that was about a period. How was that wait? But 8-month period of waiting before our contract started. So when we went to go put our positions into play, we brought Brandon. He's our older sales rep, but we brought him in on all the presentations of what everything was as expected of, and we were able to show the city of Sacramento that this is something that is a green, sustainable idea, that let's start this. There's no downside to any of what CarbonCure is, this product that we're bringing to you. They were all for it, and since then, we've been using it ever since. They're happy with the product, and we're moving forward.
Yeah. When we went into the meeting with the city about the contract, we had gone onto the CarbonCure, my CarbonCure, and there's a calculator that you can use. And we knew the yardage that the city would do. And so we were able to plug those numbers in. And when we sat with the city, we were able to show them that the CO2 savings that they were going to have based on the yardage that they did the previous year. And they were really impressed with it. And I really think CarbonCure is one of the tools that help us to procure that contract. California wants to be the leader in sustainable building, and so we've got to get government on board, and these guys were really thrilled with this. And it kind of reminds me of, like Christy knows the story, but last Friday before I left, it was late in the afternoon, I got a phone call from a young high school student that was doing a report on sustainable building. And he had questions about CarbonCure. He had seen that we were a partner with CarbonCure. And so he had a lot of questions about the technology, and I think it was about 25 minutes on the phone with him. And he was very impressed with the technology. And one of the things that he said to me that really stood out was, he said, why wouldn't somebody do this? He said, if it doesn't cost the consumer more, why wouldn't they want to use this? And of course, that makes me realize that he's
the future.
He's the future. People of his age are who are going to be our next consumers. And this is the type of technology and sustainability that they expect. We you know, guys like us, when this type of technology came out years ago, or not necessarily CarbonCure, but when climate and environment started to become some issues years ago, you know, guys like us were like, oh, those tree huggers, you know, they don't know what they're talking about. Well, here we are today, and this is the way society is, and we need to be good stewards of the earth, and CarbonCure is one of the avenues to be able to do that. And our drivers, we have several trucks, and I believe in the previous slide, we've got several trucks that are branded with the CarbonCure logo. And when we went live with CarbonCure, I sat down with the drivers that were going to be driving those trucks to explain what the product was to them, so that if people asked questions, they would be able to answer them. In fact, I did some little handouts that I got off your website that they could actually give to someone if they asked. And the drivers are all younger, and one of them said to me, "Wow," he said, "This is going to save the future for our kids." And so the younger generation understands this because this is what they've grown up with, and I believe that this is why we need to get on board with this type of technology, is because this is what the consumer is going to start to demand. And so us being the first producer of this in the Sacramento area gives us a very unique opportunity. We will always be the pioneer.
Forward thinking. We need to go that route because that is our future. Those are our customers. Those are the people we live with. Yeah, it makes sense.
And so just kind of expanding on that thought then, Andrew, you know, what role does the government have to play in helping the industry move forward towards this future?
Okay, what the government needs to do, and particularly in California, again, as I said earlier, California always thinks of itself as the leader in this type of technology. And we've seen some pushback from architects and engineers because they don't understand the technology. They're hung up on the SAC content or the water to cement ratio. And what we found in our testing is that reducing the cement content and adding the CarbonCure, adding the CO2, our compressive strengths have gone up. You know, we're braking at a lot higher brakes than we were before. So what we need to do is get government on board with this. They need to pass legislation to require sustainable building in all types of projects moving forward.
Using alternative recipes to make that rather than SAC content.
Right.
That moving away from that helps. And you can still use your old way of producing concrete, but how about an avenue where it doesn't have to be that way, and green products are easily accessible.
And I wrote an opinion piece about CarbonCure technology and sustainable building that was published in a Sacramento Business Journal a couple of weeks ago. And I had cited Senator Josh Becker. He's one that is pushing legislation for this type of technology in building. And he commented on the article, and so we're going to be inviting him to the plant to actually see the technology in person. And I think when we can start getting legislators on board and get them to see it and understand it, then I think we're going to see some progress in it. And we're fortunate that we're here in the Capitol, so it's close for us to do. You know, before I had written that piece, Tim and I were actually going to go to the Capitol and just start knocking on doors and giving them handouts. Couldn't even get in because of the well, we think it was the pandemic. They might have just saw us coming and, you know, put some signs up.
Lock the doors.
Yeah. But I think that's the role that government's going to play. Government needs to step up and be the first in this.
Right. I couldn't agree more. So what about your community? You know, what message would you have for the customers that you're serving and the people that you're working with across Sacramento?
Well, first of all, when we went live with CarbonCure, before we actually started using it and everything, we did some blind testing with it. And it was with some projects that didn't require any
Specific.
specs,
Right.
just driveways and sidewalks. And we didn't tell the finishers that there was CarbonCure in the mix. And after everything was finished, we asked them what they thought of the concrete. And every one of them said, man, that was some of the best concrete we've had from you in a long time. And so there's no difference in finishability. There's no difference in the look. There's no difference in the strength.
Set time, all of that colored concrete, it doesn't affect any of those issues that you would normally see from a finishing concept, that the questions that they are, or the product that they're looking for.
So my message for the community would be, why, like that high school student said, why wouldn't you do this? It's not going to cost you any more, and you're doing something that's going to help reduce carbon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, concrete has always, and concrete businesses have always had kind of a image of something that's kind of a necessary evil. We need concrete, but it's not friendly to the environment. CarbonCure technology takes something that is not friendly to the environment and helps us change that image. And it gives us a little bit
more. It's a friendly approach to making it.
Yeah.
One thing I could tell you is it does seem that there are community members who are really interested in learning more. I'm looking at the questions that are coming in and getting lots of questions about, you know, how much carbon are you saving? What's the price? How can I get it on my projects? So some of these questions, by the way, we can respond back to directly if we don't get to it through this webinar. But is there anything that you would want to respond to based off of those questions?
We're ready to reduce even more. We're going to go to the next step and pull out more cement and add more CO2 to make even better concrete. We're going to double our force to make better concrete, use less cement. That's going to reduce carbon footprint in our industry just with us, you know, a significant amount. Keep in mind too that we went through cement shortages to where it was like remember the 70s when you could only get so much gas at the gas station. It was the similar way here, and by using CarbonCure, it made us less, how do you say it?
Well,
we didn't have to.
We were able to stretch it a little bit.
Right.
We've reduced the cement. You know, our initial reduction was 3%, and we're now going to 6%. 3% doesn't sound like much, but when you add it up over the number of yards that you do a year, it's a huge savings. And so during that cement shortage, we were actually able to stretch the amount of work that we did because
just think about just going to pick up the cement, that carbon footprint, just getting it and bringing it here, that's significant in itself. Why wouldn't you do that? You use less fuel, you know, getting the product that you need for the ingredients. Hey, CarbonCure the CO2 tank is here. We don't drive anywhere to go pick it up. We use that. How many times are we filling it with? Once a week? No?
About once every 3 weeks.
About 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
Depending upon how big our projects are, but yeah, you use such less diesel going to pick up bulk item, and cement's handy.
Yeah, so I think that's really, you know, to answer that part of the question, where can you get it? Any CarbonCure partner. If you get it from ABC Ready Mix, I'll make sure Tim buys you some beer. And the key word there is some, not just one.
That's that commitment.
I've heard it even takes the time to understand what kind of beer you like to have too. So
The pressure.
there's a lot of pressure. Just to wrap things up, we're about a minute over, but let's extend it another couple of minutes here for those who are interested, and just some final thoughts. This webinar has been about future-proofing concrete and the concrete business. So, gentlemen, what advice would you give to the concrete industry about how to prepare for the future?
Well, I personally believe that this is this type of sustainable building, being environmentally friendly. This is where society is going. And if you don't adapt and change to these new technologies, you're going to stagnate and eventually go away.
Yep.
This will ensure that you are at the forefront of modern new technology and keep you viable in your marketplace. We don't want to be the guy that says, oh no, we've done this way for 60 years, we're not going to change. No, we want to change. We want the latest technology, and I feel like that will future-proof not only our business but the entire industry.
Yeah, if you're not forward thinking, you're in the past.
Yeah.
And the wagon is long gone. The horse and buggy is long gone. If you're not forward thinking, you're going to be in the back, and then you'll eventually be out of it.
Yeah. And it sounds like, find ways to get some insurance against the next cement shortage, or be able to adapt to all kinds of material shortage conditions that we might be facing in the future as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. And how do you think that high school students will feel, Andrew, about all of this direction?
Well, I think that, I think that the generation now is still able to see the change. Give it another 10 years and
they're taking over.
They're not even going to know. The kids that are in elementary school now that get into high school, they're not going to know any different. This is what they're going to expect. And then as those high school students now are going into college and then into business, this is what they're going to be doing. And there'll be no question about it. They'll expect it as well.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, gentlemen, I think it's time. We're going to have to turn the webinar off, and thank everyone for attending. Really thank you for joining, staying with us for those extra few minutes. I mean, these guys have so much to say. I think they could probably keep going. We could just keep the camera on and let them talk for a while and hear their thoughts. I know I certainly love it, but in any case, really appreciate you sharing your perspective on the evolution of ABC. Really appreciate what you're doing for the Sacramento community, and keep it up, guys. We're rooting for you.
We appreciate it. And the one last thing I do want to say, I meant to say this earlier, is CarbonCure has made this really easy. So if you're a producer thinking about doing it, don't hesitate to call them. This is really simple to get going. And the entire team, and Christy and Brandon and everybody that we've worked with at CarbonCure has been great. And continues to support us. So thank you.
You're welcome. All right, thank you. That's it, everyone. Have a great day. Again, we will be, please fill out the survey. We will be sending this recording out. We will be addressing any questions we haven't been able to get to today through follow-up emails. So have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining.